You both on? Well, good morning. This is the Richland County Board of Commissioners. I'm Darrell Banks with Tony Vero, Cliff Mears, fellow commissioners, Stacy Crawl, our clerk, Andrew Keller, our administrator, and the one and only Jodica Shetty from Regional Planning. And online we have Carl Hunnell and Al Lawrence from the Richland Source and the News Journal respectively. Jodica, would you move up to the front desk here, and we're going to hear from you about approving the revolving loan fund administration agreement.
Yes.
Tell us what you got.
So this is the agreement we sign every 2 years with the Department of Development, Office of Community Development. So we've had this revolving loan fund, or the county has had the revolving loan fund for a lot of years. It is provided so that we can provide low interest loans to businesses, so that they can if they need gap financing. So any business that has a traditional source of funding like the bank, but is not able to finance either expansion or purchase of equipment, can then apply for these low interest loans. And there's a term to it that they need to pay it back with. So they do like to see these loans mostly go to manufacturing and industrial operations, though in the past we have provided it to retail and restaurants. A good example of that would be when Skyway East made some improvements, and we were able to provide them with these loan funds, which they paid back, but we're able to keep their operations open. One of the requirements of the loan is, of course, that they retain or create low and moderate income jobs. So there's a whole process. The application process is quite elaborate, like any other public funding source, making sure that they are committing to these job creations and then holding them accountable at the end of the loan to have provided for those. We have not had any active loans on this. Recently, the last one we closed was Alta West, and I know Commissioner Bank had a few conversations to make sure we got paid back on those loans. So those are all now paid off. We still have a balance of around 50,000, which we could use if there was any business that would require them. But this agreement by itself is just kind of laying out the terms, telling us that we'll take good care of the funds while it is with us, and do the proper due diligence of reporting and recording for the funds.
Basically, an as-needed agreement. Situation warrants.
No, this is because these funds essentially belong to the state, and they've kind of lent it to us to lend it out to anybody who requires it. They require that we sign this every 2 years.
So
as long
and those funds that are we paying interest on these funds then?
So we're not paying any interest. The businesses pay interest, and we get to keep that interest, that income, and use it for like activities. So any program income that comes in, they require us to report it. So every year I submit a report showing any program income that has come in. So all that is part of the agreement, saying we'll fill out those reports. We'll make sure that any program income is then used for activities that are allowable under CDBG.
Lake Erie Basin, which is involved in this, correct?
Lake Erie Basin?
Yeah, the economic development group that we belong to.
I don't think they're part of this.
Yeah, part of it. But they're the ones that were pushing me to push some people to pay. So okay.
I mentioned to you an inquiry I had about a potential business for training for the low income or recovering people. Would that be a business that would be eligible for
I
potential?
mean, is it creating jobs? This is a loan, something to keep in mind. It's a loan, and they do have to have commitment from like a traditional financial institute, like a bank. But this can only fund like up to 50% of their financial need that a traditional financial institute would not be able to fund. So it's just gap financing. But if they're actually producing jobs, and it can be just training. It has to be a job.
Expect they would have people working at the facility, but I don't know.
Yes.
I reference the person,
yes.
maybe calling you and we'll see.
Mhm. But usually, it goes through a loan committee. There's a loan committee, and they have to, like I mentioned, it would be hard to qualify something like that unless it's like a manufacturing, if it's just,
This is a service.
yeah, if there's a product being produced, then, that would be something that could qualify. But if you're just training and people, that I think would be a stretch.
Okay.
Any questions, further questions up here?
Motion to approve.
Second.
Commissioner Banks,
Yes,
Commissioner Vero,
Yes.
Commissioner Mears.
Jodica, we do appreciate all the things that you do and keep track of and come and bring before us. We appreciate that. We'll probably have some questions from, let's go to Carl first today.
Well, thank you, sir. Jodica, what, in terms of, you say it's low interest, compare these interest rates to what's available commercially.
So traditionally, there's no fixed income rate, so it fluctuates up to 2% lower than what a bank would offer. So the current rate, or market rate.
Okay, based on that, why do you think more businesses, you said that you haven't had any for a while. Why do you think more businesses don't take advantage of being able to obtain a loan where you pay 2% less interest than you would pay at a bank?
For a lot of years, I think it was the fact that low interest rates were available, right? For quite a long time. It's only in the recent years that we're seeing higher rates at the financial institutes. For a lot of the small businesses, which is what they're able to fund, I think the effort to go through the loan process might be a hurdle. And then the fact that you can only fund jobs that are low and moderate income. So a lot of the manufacturing jobs are still paying well enough in many cases to not qualify.
When you say low to moderate income, what dollar amounts kind of are you talking about in that range these days?
Oh, I wish I had it off my HUD just released those figures. Can I get those to you?
Yeah, because I've been looking at things like the minimum wage, living wage, that kind of thing. So it's probably somewhere between minimum wage and what they would describe as a living wage.
Living wage. Yes. I think it's like 31 for a family of 4, but I'm not, 100% on those numbers, so I can get you those.
If you would. When you look at this particular loan program, you said you had $50,000 available. Is that something that ODOD replenishes every year? Is that kind of a standard amount that you have on hand?
So that's so the way the program works is if we needed money, we could reach out to ODOD to replenish it. So there is no amount that they are giving out to us anymore. But if there was a potential project that did require access to that amount, then we could work with ODOD to apply for an economic development loan, like the county would apply for that, and then turn around and provide that to an applicant.
And is there a maximum amount that a business could apply for?
Not more than 50%. That would be the tops. I think we generally have done up to 30%. So 50% of their project expansion cost.
Okay. And when did you say was the last time that a local company took advantage of this?
I want to say the loans were made back in like 2000, before 2008. I think Alta West, Skyway East. I joined in 2015, so those were the two loans we were servicing at the time, Skyway East and Alta West. And so I think the loans were made pre-2008.
And if a business or a company wanted to apply for this, how do they start that process?
They would reach out to me. That would be the first step. They would reach out to me, and then we would sit down and talk about what their needs are, their plans for the business, kind of see if they would qualify. There's an application process. Once that it goes to the local loan committee to take a look at, and then once they approve it, we would still need to submit it before it's even approved to the state to make sure that it qualifies. But the first step would be reaching out either to the commissioners or to me.
With inflation running so high and interest rates obviously higher than they've been, do you anticipate that someone might actually become the first company in
I hope
16
so.
years?
I hope so. I hope so. There's money, and if it's going to produce good quality jobs and retain those in the community, I hope that this source of funding can be useful, and we can help businesses stay in the community. So yes, if we can get the word out, and if the city of Mansfield also has a similar program, just to make you aware of that. So they have funds available too. And that's a little bit of a qualifier too. We would, if somebody from the city of Mansfield, if the project was located in the city of Mansfield, we would direct them to the city of Mansfield first.
Okay, well, thank you very much. That's what I needed.
Okay, thanks, Carl.
Al, do you have any questions?
Yeah, excuse me, just one. I'm not asking you to name specific people, but what kind of people are on the steering committee, the committee that reviews the application?
I was hoping you wouldn't ask me that question. The loan committee, it's the same as the Mansfield Loan Committee. So we have not actually needed to use them, like I said, since I've been here. So I'll have to reach out to Tim Bobasock at the city to see if it's that the committee is active, because it may be something that gets appointed.
Yeah, well, I didn't necessarily need names, but I mean, are they mostly
I would
businessmen,
think
finance bankers?
yes, I would think that, finance bankers, minority representative. And I think I might even have like a list from the past. I just don't know if it is the current list.
Yeah, I was just looking for,
Yeah.
general description of who was there. I don't need a list of names. That's all I had. Thank you.
Okay. Well, thank you very much for coming.
Thank you. Thank you for your time. Well, what a nice day.
Thank you. Okay, let's do some other. First thing would be to certify the record of finding proceedings for July the 9th.
Moved.
I actually need to make an amendment. If you look on page 4 where we're discussing the budget, where it says expenses are up about 5%. Statement was we budgeted for expenses to increase by 6.5%. They're actually up a little more than that, but we budgeted for expenses to increase by 6.5%. That would be my amended motion.
I'll second the amendment.
Fairbanks,
Yes.
Arrow,
Yes.
Yes.
And can we get a motion to approve the requisitions?
So moved.
Second.
Commissioner Banks,
Yes.
Yes.
Commissioner Mears,
Yes.
Okay, and again, we approve the weekly transfers and appropriations.
So moved.
Second.
Yes.
Rivera,
Yes.
Commissioner Mears,
Yes.
Okay. And we have a request from Brightspeed. A Livonia Road in Mifflin and Weller Townships to install new fiber optic cable on existing poles in the county right of way. Approximately 4,037 feet and 4,887 feet along Osborne and Livonia Road.
So moved.
Second.
Commissioner Banks,
Yes.
Commissioner Rivera,
Yes.
Commissioner Mears.
Okay. And can we authorize the termination of a Dayspring probationary employee?
So moved.
That would be effective May 29th. Second.
Commissioner Banks,
Yes.
Rivera,
Yes.
Commissioner Mears.
Yes.
Okay, we have a memo to county officials regarding the Auditor of State's required training. And I will read it, but it's going out to all our county department heads, boards and elected officials from the Board of Commissioners and Auditor Pat Dropsy. And
So just a question on that. I understand we're the budgeting arm of the county. But shouldn't the memo itself come from the county auditor and then we distribute that to our department heads? And I know Andrew and I are meeting tomorrow and how we want to make sure all our employees, current and future, undergo the training, which is only 7-minute video. But shouldn't this come from the auditor?
Well, we styled it as
I know.
jointly from the auditor and the commissioners because the statute talks about the entity, and the entity is Richland County. And of course, you're the chief officials for Richland County as an entity.
You know, it's not, I'm not I just just want to be concerned. It is an auditing function. It's coming from the Ohio auditor. We have a county auditor.
I know our office has already received questions from other elected officials. And so this is our attempt to provide notice. There'd be nothing wrong with it coming from just the auditors. That's a judgment call for the commissioners. But up to this point, we've been planning on just a jointly released memo.
I mean, I'm fine with it. I don't want to, just want to be concerned we're not overstepping a little bit.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Commissioner Banks,
yes.
Commissioner Rivera,
Yes.
Commissioner.
Yes.
And the auditor and I just talked about this memo again this morning, so he's on board with it.
I always think of Office Space. Did you get the memo? For those who have seen it.
Okay. Andrew, why don't you talk to us about approving the notice of ARPA expenditures?
Certainly. Most exciting ARPA awards, the commissioners get the opportunity to review, but they are necessary and they're expected under the ARPA rules. The first is to reimburse the general fund for health expenses related to COVID-19. As you know, the county uses SEBCO, which is a joint self-insurance pool. So we retrieved data from SEBCO that showed that there were $381,442 to be exact of medical expenses related to COVID-19. That includes inpatient, outpatient, and professional expenses. And so our intention is to reimburse those costs. And we would direct those to each department in proportion to their relative share of the premium of annual SEBCO dues. The The other award is for administrative expenses. That's both hourly expenses, hourly expenses that I've put in on administering the ARPA program, as well as in an audit cost of over $2,000. As a part of our single federal audit, they audited and tested our expenditures. And so those costs also can be taken care of through ARPA funds. That's a summary of those two ARPA awards.
And it looks like the healthcare costs, those incurred through December 31st of 23, and the administrative costs through June 14th of 24.
That's correct. Those timelines.
Make a motion to approve both.
Second.
Commissioner Banks,
Yes.
Commissioner Barrow, Commissioner Mears.
Yes.
And the next thing on the agenda is to approve a resolution regarding opioid settlements with Kroger. And Andrew, I think that's something you could explain also.
Yes, this is a settlement with Kroger Company. Kroger is a latecomer when it comes to the settling defendants and the opioid litigation. To put that in perspective, litigation started well before we even heard the term COVID-19. So years ago, and we've reached settlements with majority of the defendants. Again, the defendants being companies in the supply chain of opioid distribution, manufacture. And in this case, Kroger settled $1.2 billion to be allocated for the abatement of this problem. It's to be distributed across the United States. Ohio will receive a share of that, and then Richland County will receive a share of Ohio's share. So I do recommend commissioners enter into this settlement agreement to receive those funds.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Yes.
Commissioner Barrow,
Yes.
Mears.
Yes.
Okay. And we've been asked to authorize advertising request for proposal for food service contract in the jail. Just went through, and the company that received it they must give us a 90-day warning that they're gonna pull out, and that's what they can do that without stating the cause.
We'll make a motion to approve.
Second.
Commissioner Banks,
Yes.
Commissioner Barrow,
Yes.
Commissioner Mears.
Yes.
Okay, it is,
Sure you have a question?
Carl, do you have any questions?
Oh, just a couple. Andrew, you said, I think one of the commissioners talked about the dates of the ARPA coverage area that you're for the COVID-19 expenses. I heard an ending date of December 31st, 2023. When was the start date that they looked at for that?
January 1 of 2023. So that was for calendar year 2023.
And that comes into the general fund, but is then sent back out to the departments based upon their percentage that they pay into the SEBCO premiums.
Exactly right.
Okay. And the last thing that just came up, talk a little bit, if somebody could explain that. It seems like they just settled the food services contract. What's happened there? I guess that one kind of took me by surprise because I thought this one just got settled.
You're not alone in the surprise.
It did just get settled. And so this was not good news. But our Captain Blunk who oversees the jail received notice from Trinity, our food service vendor, that their submitted pricing was lower than they expected by mistake. That was a little frustrating. Under the contract, Trinity does have the right to terminate the contract at will with 90 days notice. That's what they've done. We can't control that. So it's back to the drawing board and putting out an RFP for food services at the jail.
Andrew, can we toughen up the contract in the future, or is that something we have to live with to get the bids?
It would be in the commissioner's discretion. The reason 90 days is in there, which by the way, it's for the owner, for the commissioners, it's 30-day notice. For the contractor, it's 90-day, is that does give the commissioners adequate time to land on our feet and rebid the project.
When is the 90 days? When will this contract be up then?
I haven't seen the notice letter.
We-
It'd be 90 days from the,
Yeah, we haven't
get the contract first.
seen the official notice yet. It was a verbal that it was coming.
well, in that case, all right, I would strike anything that I've said that we've received notice, because
Yeah.
we are waiting on written notice to toll that time.
Okay, so once the commissioner's office gets written notice, then it's 90 days from that point.
Yes, and thank you for asking that question, Carl.
I mean, this contract was settled literally less than 3 months ago. It was an 8% increase from what you guys had to pay last year, which was 8% over what you paid in 2022. And Trinity says that's still not enough.
That's our understanding. And to be honest with you, I believe Captain Blanc had a conversation with Trinity about some potential irregularities in their original submission, and Trinity reassured him, nope, this is our intention. And here we are. Now they're telling us it's lower than they intended.
I know it was the lowest of the 3 bids. I think Summit was $226 a meal, and Aramac, or I'm not sure you pronounce that, was $246 a meal, but theirs was only $202. Are you thinking that you'll get probably the other 2 companies to come back in and bid for this?
We'll be submitting it to all interested offerors, which would certainly include those companies. I mean, these are larger companies that are in this business, so we would certainly hope for submissions from all the interested companies.
No, the Trinity Services is out of Florida, so basically they said, oops, we screwed up when we said 202 a meal.
That's what's been communicated to us. We've not spoken to Trinity directly, but yes,
Rachel has.
in Captain Blanc, yes.
Okay. All right. I think the budget for jail meals, I think it's 596,000. Commissioners, do you anticipate you might have to increase that then?
I would,
Be determined. But I think you're seeing why we're looking at making some budget tweaks in terms of oversight in 2025.
And I think you guys asked Andrew about trying to find some way to change the contract around, so maybe you can't get dumped in 90 days, or at least not in the first year.
Potentially.
All right. Well, that's what I needed. Thanks, guys.
Al, do you have anything?
Yeah, all the questions on the food service were asked, but that training, what kind of training is that the auditor is requiring?
It's security and fraud training.
Mandate from the state of Ohio rolls downhill, Al.
Watch how we all need to
Yeah,
be.
like other stuff has a tendency to do too.
And by the way, it's not the state auditor's mandate. It was a law passed by the
Correct.
legislature, and
Legislature to the auditor to us.
Okay, I would just curious what kind of training it was. That's all I needed. Thank you.
Okay. It is 10 a.m. And can we get a motion to go into executive session for building maintenance discipline?
So move.
Second.
Commissioner Banks,
Yes.
Commissioner Vero,
Yes.
Commissioner Mears.
It is 10:29. We are back in session. And after discussing with HR, we will take no action at this time. And we're gonna recess for 30. Oh, now it's 10:30, and can we get a motion to go into executive session to discuss wastewater discipline?
So moved.
Second.
Commissioner Banks,
Yes.
Commissioner Vero,
Yes.
Commissioner Mears.
Yes.
It is 10:42 and we are out of executive session and with no action necessary. And we would like to get a motion to authorize advertising for chief of maintenance position at the wastewater department.
So moved.
Second.
You have anything to add? No? Okay. I thought I heard you say. Commissioner Banks?
Yes,
Commissioner Vero?
Yes.
Commissioner Mears?
Yes.
anybody there?
Al's there.
Al, you got any questions?
No, I'm good, thank you.
Okay. Now 10:43 and no one has anything else. We'll adjourn and see you next week.